Welcome to Sunday Media.
We're reporting on the most interesting headlines.
It's the news you need and the entertainment you want every Sunday.
Hit that subscribe button and let's spend Sunday together.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to Sunday Media.
Welcome. There's a little sip.
Just a tiny one.
Yes.
How you feeling today?
Pretty good. How about you?
So good.
Good. Are you sure?
No, I love recording. I really
Me
do
too.
love recording. No, I'm excited. We've got such great articles.
Very good ones.
We have a new guest calling in today for an
Yes.
Honest Opinion segment, Bridget,
Good question.
that we know.
Yes.
I mean, she's one of your very best friends still. But I've known her for a really long time.
Yeah, we both know.
Yeah. So she's going to be calling in. And then, I mean, I'll let you start with the first article today, but
Okay.
I kind of already know what's coming. I guess I'm just
a little
excited.
bit. Yes. So exciting news. So our first headline, talking about the metaverse. The future of the metaverse. What does it hold?
Ooh,
Yes.
I feel like I heard a lot about this and then I heard nothing about it.
Right. I feel similarly. And so when I stumbled upon this, I thought it was really interesting.
Mhm.
Just to kind of go into it, metaverse blockchain leverages augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence to provide unmatched experiences in simulated virtual spaces. So this emerging technology is quickly redefining the way people interact in the world around them and reshaping how businesses operate. It's really going to change the future of work. Has it changed? Have you felt like the metaverse has changed your future of work or work at all at this point?
No, I don't think we're using any of it.
Right.
So in my 9 to 5
Mhm.
work, in multifamily housing, I mean, you do see that people at apartment communities and other communities
Yes.
are using like virtual tours, and obviously
Yes.
social media has changed a lot.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is promoted on there. That's
Very true.
a great way to market everything. Metaverse, no.
Yeah. There's a few ways that it says that the future of the metaverse technology will impact the way people are working in the coming years. I think
Okay.
we will start to see it. So, for example, a good thing will be fewer accidents in the workplace. So for people who perform dangerous jobs, tasks within their jobs, like electricians, machine operators, metaverse glasses will help them reduce accidents. Through virtual reality platforms, employees can practice with the tools and machines, which
Wait,
what a
that's
win.
so cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat.
Tractors and
Mhm.
heavy machines. So
Yes.
it's like you're putting on those goggles
Mhm. But without
and you're doing
experiencing-
it.
Yep. Physical injury. Yes.
I mean, it's kind of like the idea where they say that your brain lights up in the same way when you're imagining yourself doing something, just like if you're actually doing it. So like they've tested this with athletes where if you're a runner, for example, and you were trying to beat your time, if you imagine yourself actually running and trying to beat whatever the timing is or
Yes.
something. So you imagine yourself running that course and hitting that time.
Mhm.
Your brain lights up in the same way. Like they've done all these studies
Interesting.
as if you were actually running. And so if you practice that in your mind, it is a form of true practice. And then people go on in real practice to actually achieve those goals. So it kind of sounds like this to me. So if you're testing out these things and you're doing it virtually,
Yeah.
it's in the same way as if
You're
you were
experiencing
actually
it,
yes.
which is kind of scary.
I mean, a little bit, but if you think about it
That's
without the scary
positive.
part, you're just like, oh.
Yes, you're still experiencing it. It's also talking about like employee onboarding. You'd be reimagining employee onboarding experiences,
Yeah.
requiring them to read documents, watch videos, but you'd be like within the classroom or like the room that you'd be learning. Or employee training. It says virtual technology, like normally hands-on, but people can practice like sales presentations, their client. Like we had VR goggles at work, and you could walk through, say, like a client center, or which is really neat. But I don't think that
I've never
people are
used one.
leveraging, the AR, augmented reality.
Wow.
Yes, and there's a few other ones, just operational assessments. Of course, the metaverse is going to change the future of work, making it easier to assess operations. And employee interactions. It says providing socially satisfying experiences to their staff by bringing individuals in different locations into one virtual room. I have not had the luxury of putting on VR goggles and being part of a room with other people, but I think that'd be really neat.
Yeah, and you know what? It kind of makes me think too, because the person who wrote in, I won't give it away, but for the honest opinions that we're going to talk about with Bridget later today, they do talk about wanting to go back to school, and I wonder,
oh my gosh,
like if you were to put on the glasses, if that's a new way of basically doing online schooling. So like if you were to go back to school, or you were to go the kids in the classroom that are I mean, just with COVID and stuff, they were displaced, so they were doing online schooling at home.
That's
scary. But imagine it's like you're there.
Yes, but you're just sitting on your couch learning.
Yes. The part that's so weird to me is like, that's not reality, but it feels so real. So you're almost not living in reality.
Right. It's more efficient because you're sitting on your couch and you don't have to commute or get changed or whatever. But
I guess it's really not much different than sitting in front of a computer and watching everybody in the classroom all together, like on a Zoom call or on the same platform.
You're right.
But you're experiencing it as if you're there, because that's your entire view.
It is a better experience.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I think that's so cool.
It's a bit controversial, I feel like, with the changes, but everything pros and cons.
I mean, people have to adjust. Change, I don't think is always comfortable, but I could see a lot of positives with that.
Definitely.
Just in the workplace and with schooling, at least. And I love that you can basically test things. It's like, as a safety measure, it's saying you're doing all of these things, you're actively practicing, but you're not physically practicing with those tools in reality.
Exciting things ahead.
So I have the second headline for today. So it says, "Welp, having a quarter life crisis."
Oh boy. Okay.
It says, so I found this article, right? It says, "I used to think the term quarter life crisis was a joke until I went through one myself."
Oh, I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. It says, "At first it was exciting, moving out of my parents' house, going to college, learning how to be an adult and live on my own, and getting settled into my first big girl job. But after the dust settled, I thought, now what? Now what? I just do this on repeat for the next 50 years until I retire one day." The pressure of FOMO, of seeing friends seemingly have it all together, was really intimidating. My quarter life crisis meant feeling stressed, broke, and lonely. I can't tell you the number of times I've wondered, does everyone else already know what they're doing? And I feel like maybe not so much now, but there was definitely a pinpoint in time that I can think about where I'm just like, what is the point?
Like, how? I need more.
So it's talking about how people have a midlife crisis.
Yes.
Right? But around 25, 26, you're just like, okay, I'm doing it now. I'm an adult now. But like, is this it? Am I going to just do this for the rest of my life? I think when you think about your job or your routines, and it could be less exciting too, because you're in this routine, you're going to work, you're not maybe seeing your friends as much, you don't want to be out late in the same way, like as you get older. So you're just like, is this it? Not to dismiss this, but I don't even mean that in like a depressed way. It's more just like, because I feel like that's a separate thing that people also struggle with, but just like, oh man, like I'm doing it, but is this it? Like, is that? And then you have this moment where you're just like, do I want to change?
Did you get out of your?
Yeah,
I feel like this is it's turned into an honest opinions, and in a good way though.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get out?
I think my mindset of everything just changed, because I don't care to go out in the same way as I do anymore, as I used to when I was younger. So I don't feel like I'm missing out so much.
Yes.
But like, we have all these big events in our future. We have all these really great travel things that we want to do, and events that we're going to go to, and all of that stuff. Like, I want to have great things along the way, but I think we're more particular on how we want to spend our time and what we're going to spend it on. So I would rather go on a really great trip that's in a nicer place than my own home with all of my stuff and my comfortable space, you know, versus going every weekend to a different place. Like, I would rather go to something more luxury. So I think I'm not as much in the FOMO day to day, because I can I'm more patient with some of the things. I would rather quality over quantity sometimes.
Yes.
So I think I've grown out of that part a little bit. And then the job stuff ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So, I've gone to different sites, like, and my my title and everything has kind of changed. My responsibilities have changed over the years. So I feel like I'm kind of out of that. But yeah, I think you just have this moment where you're coming from college, but you're not in your like settled 30s yet. And it's that in between time that can kind of feel like, does everybody else know what they're doing? And I just don't know what I'm doing. Am I supposed to want more?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Have
definitely.
you ever felt that?
Well, I'm just trying to think, timing wise, like quarter life crisis, where was I? That's like 25,
26.
And looking back, I'm sure I was having some sort of crisis in some way at that point. But I can't think of like specifically what that issue was, because I was still at the same company. I still, like, I'm thinking maybe past relationships. I can't remember, but it could have maybe.
I mean, if you were at the same company though, did you maybe feel stagnant at any point? Like, am I just gonna do this forever? Like, is this the best?
It's so funny.
You could have been so happy with it, though.
Yeah, I think I was just content in knowing. I thought, oh yes, this is what I need to do. This is what's expected. This is where I'm going to live. This is my plan. I need to find my partner, but like, that's where I was planning to be. So it was always like a clear path. And I think it's probably an anomaly too, that so many people at that company just stay at the company.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
To think about.
Yeah, and now that I think about it too, like, I had already met my husband. We were not married yet, but in a lot of ways I was very settled.
Yes.
But I think there were certain things where I relate to this person in just like the broader scheme, where you are in that time frame where you're just thinking further ahead and you're like, but what else am I going to do? And like, is this it? And you can feel content, which I think is a really great feeling. But then are you not striving for other things then if you feel content, because you don't feel the need to push for stuff? It's strictly a feeling. And I don't know that I did anything crazy. But I think that's super relatable. She says, acknowledging your feelings. It can be easy to feel alone in your 20s when people around you are graduating, getting new jobs, moving, getting married, or settling down. Your friends might be spread out across the world. You may feel like everyone else is moving forward while you're going through this time of crisis. However, you're not alone and your feelings are valid. Know that what you feel is normal, and more importantly, that it's okay. Seek support. Reach out to your friends and family as your support system, because they can help you gain perspective. It says, realizing that the grass is not always greener. Not everybody else knows what they're doing. Some people are just content. You're in it.
Yeah. That's the whole point too.
Yeah.
Everybody's figuring it out.
Everybody's figuring it out. And just because you're doing something in your 20s doesn't mean that in your 30s or 40s you can't change it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that this was like super long for me, but I've definitely felt those things, stagnancy, I guess, in certain areas. And other things are like, okay, and you're like, this is so great, and I'm adulting, and
a crisis can be good.
Yeah, and then it just says, keep in mind that you can set small, achievable goals. It can be overwhelming to think about changes going on in your life throughout your 30s, your relationship, your career, where you live, friends, etc. But thinking about making smaller steps to work towards that life that you want, instead of focusing on the overwhelming big picture, can be really helpful. You're just breaking down those things into smaller aspirations, just like working at one thing at a time, and as like this gets settled, then like the next thing will come, and then you can feel content with that. And then, because you have health and relationships and workouts and travel and all of the things that you want to do. So it might not all be settled perfectly around that time at the same time. Yep. And then just to end, it says, the last thing you can do is consider therapy with a trained professional. While connecting with friends and family who can relate and empathize with what you're going through is really helpful. Having a health professional guide you through this confusing time and the life-changing choices you're making can make all the difference. Sometimes the guidance of a trained professional, a therapist, or a counselor can provide the perspective and the tools needed to navigate through this challenging time of efficiency. I read this book. That last part just reminds me of it. I read this book, and it's written by a therapist.
Ooh.
And so it opens up and it just says, there's a lot of people who do stay with therapy for their life, right?
Right.
But there's other people that don't necessarily need therapy long term.
Yeah.
They more so just need the life skills that sometimes we're not taught. And when you think about what they are, they can sound so basic, which is why I think it's confusing, because we just don't do the very basic things.
Yes.
We think everything needs to be so hard for it to be,
right,
to be worth doing, or to make a big change or something. But she started noticing that she would give people these resources, teach them certain things, and then they would go and they would apply them into their life. And then they would come back and they would essentially have moved on, or like they started helping themselves through other situations using those tools. And she was like, we can continue on, and you, like, if there's other things you want to work through, but like the stuff that you've come to me for, you've learned the life skills now to be able to handle it yourself. And she felt like more people were able to graduate from therapy in a way, whereas other people need it for different reasons, more long term. And so she wrote the book because she's like, almost everybody needs this type of therapy, where they need to learn the life skills that we're not always taught. And like one of the things that sticks out in my mind is like, we can be so irritable, and we can feel low, and our mood can change, and we can just be like, just kind of feel down, right? But when you think about all the things that are affecting that you can change, like not getting enough sleep, not having a solid morning or night routine to set yourself up for a successful morning, because then you're just like rushing, and then you didn't get breakfast, so now you don't have any protein for the day, you have no energy, you didn't get enough sleep the night before. It's like such basic things, or like it's just so cold in the office and you don't have a jacket, and how irritable and uncomfortable you are, but like that small thing would make all the difference.
What is this book called?
We had to take a quick pause to figure out the name, because for whatever reason it lost me, but I read it a couple months ago. It's called Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before, by Dr. Julie Smith. And during COVID, she started actually doing a bunch of posts on TikTok, and it started blowing up, and she then wrote this book.
It's recent. Very nice.
Yeah, just in the last couple years. And so basically it just reminds me of is, for this quarter life crisis, I feel like sometimes we can feel the lack of contentment in certain areas of our life, or we feel like other people are doing better than us, or we just feel like we don't have direction. But that book could be really helpful to read, because it's life skills that we can learn. Again, very basic stuff, but sometimes that's all we need, right? We just need to actually implement them. Or two, just talking with a therapist and having or like a life coach, because they can help just hold you accountable for working towards other things that you want, because maybe you feel stagnant because you have bigger, broader goals for yourself, and you feel like you're just not achieving them. You're kind of stuck in this mundane routine.
That's a good title of the book too.
Yeah. Why is nobody?
Because I want to know what the other, like, you've given us a few snippets of
from the book. Like other things.
I want to know other, like, what don't I know?
Oh, I mean, I suggest that you read the book, but like, it just talks about, what else? There's like the idea of having, so it's a lot of routine stuff too. She talks about grief. She talks about relationships. Some of the broader things are day-to-day life skills. So like, handling difficult conversations, and, being honest with yourself about, like, not feeling FOMO and stuff like that, because as your life evolves, you're not going to be able to please everybody. And so it's stuff like that. Then, but just one of the biggest things that I got from it was like the morning and night routine, because I already feel like I'm pretty good about that. But when you set yourself up for success is basically what all of these skills are. Again, so basic, but like so one of the examples I think was like, if you wake up thirsty and then you're rushing in the morning, you're not hydrating your body, which think about like all that that does for you, just like food gives you energy, right? So if you don't have time to eat breakfast, you don't have your water and all of these things, what you could do put some water on your nightstand when you go to bed. That way, when you wake up in the morning, it's right there. You drink your water. Okay. If you go do a workout in the morning, your clothes are already set out for you. Everything is already laid out. The house is clean. Your bag is packed and by the door. So like I come home from the gym, I repack that bag and I put it in the car. So when I do my stuff after work, and then I go straight to work and the bag's already packed. When I go to the gym in the morning, I lay out my workout clothes, and I'm out the door in 15 minutes. I'm not doing makeup and hair and all that stuff, so it's pretty efficient. I do these couple things. I grab my water, which is already filled. I put on the workout clothes that are already set out, and then you're just like, again, setting yourself up for success to have a much more better much more productive day and like a better attitude and a better mindset. You don't want to be doing things that work against you when we know that some of the basic things are make all the difference in your life.
And she's teaching that in her therapy sessions.
Okay. Nice. So these are things that she was talking about with her patients. But she realized that a lot of these people were like, I'm good, or at least on all of these things. So she wrote the whole book so that anybody can use that as a resource. And the book is actually set up in a great way. I mean, like promoting, she should come on the show. She should come on the podcast. But it's set up so that you can use it as a reference. So the way everything is organized, you can just come back to it whenever you're dealing with something specific in life. So it's kind of like a resource guide.
That's great.
You can read it through, but then you can check back on things.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good book.
Yeah.
Time for our honest opinion segment.
We've got an amazing caller calling in today. These dilemmas, like, so relatable.
Advice from our guests has been really great. So we're excited to have Bridget join us. I actually think she's calling in right now.
Oh, let me get it.
Hello, Bridget.
Hi.
We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
So we have a bit of an honest opinion question that I feel like you'd be the perfect person to answer. We'd love to hear your advice, and hopefully you can help out this listener with their dilemma. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. So, dear honest opinions, I'm a 35-year-old single mother considering going back to school to complete my degree. I want to improve my career prospects, but I'm worried about managing my time, the financial burden, and the impact on my family. Is it worth it to pursue further education at this time and at this stage in my life? And how can I make it work? Warm regards, education aspirant. We'll cut that part out. Warm regards, someone with a dilemma. So what do you think? I know you have a bit of experience and advice that I'm sure you could share.
What do you think? I mean, I feel like I've been a career student, so different phases I've gone back to school. So I think any age is a good age to go back to school. Obviously, there's different challenges that arise, but I mean, personally for me, I did the whole go to school, go to college right after that, and then I went into the workforce and decided to ultimately go back to school. So I understand the life dilemma of, is it now's the right time? Can I take on this debt? X, Y, and Z. So I think school is a great idea.
And you are someone who went back to school after already starting your career. And I feel like you even propelled your career even more by doing that, even though it was a significant time financial investment. I'm always proud and promote you when I'm like, she went back.
No, I've heard all about it.
And now she's a nurse. So
So I mean, I definitely think as long as you come up with your plan, you write out your pros and cons. Obviously, having kids and being a single mother is a challenge that I do not know at this point in my life. But there are definitely resources, and if you're working now too, a lot of careers or jobs offer like a financial education reimbursement type thing. So I definitely like have them check out all of the options, whether it's like federal loans or private loans. Debt is a temporary thing, and school loans are sometimes a pain, but I think if it's ultimately what your career goals, if it helps you achieve those things, then why not take the investment in yourself, you know? So it's, if you think of it as an investment rather than just like, oh my gosh, debt, because, you know, I mean, that's a scary word.
No, I feel like that's good. An investment in yourself too.
No, it totally is. I went back and got my MBA. I started in 2018. For me, it was a little different than the person who wrote in, just because I also don't have kids and I was not married or anything at the time. But it worked out perfectly because I felt like there was no better time. I mean, I was working full time when I did that, but I did an online schooling because I was working full time. I did it in the evenings. Some of the schools that I had looked into had really regimented classes that you had to log in and watch when you did the online courses, versus mine, which was more, it was like segmented. So you could log in and pretty much do it at any time, but there were very specific due dates. So I got to kind of curate my schedule. So if you have kids and you look into a program that's like that, where it's a little bit more flexible, then maybe she could do it like after the kids go to bed,
Virtual learning.
if she's working, or he, I guess. No, single mother, they said. Yeah, so I think that there's ways to be flexible to do that and not necessarily have to even go into a classroom anymore.
Yeah.
And so even though it could be a lot of money and it's obviously your time, but if it's something that's going to actually advance your career, at some point you have to make the sacrifice to get there. And it's like, if this is a good time, I think education at any point is not ever a waste.
Yeah.
Just hopefully it's something that's aligned with what you want to do.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be worth it, and you have to see a vision for it. It's not like, let me just get a degree in engineering now because I'm bored. I mean, if you want to do that, great, but it doesn't sound like that's a dilemma in your life. It sounds like that's something you're like, okay. But if it's something that you are viewing as a challenge, then just kind of change your perspective too. And there, like you said, Shauna, like there's part-time classes, or you can go full-time if it makes it work. But there are different programs for sure that can help you achieve ultimate dreams.
Yeah. I think I graduated, it was either 2 or 3 years, but I only did one class at a time.
Yeah.
But that was because that was how the program was.
That's
there was
true.
different
It took
options.
longer.
I did all of the classes. I did my full course, but I still had a different program than even some of the other ones that I looked into, which was part of the reason that I chose the school and the curriculum that I did, because I knew that that was something that I was taking on in addition to everything else. But for me, there was no better time. And it sounds like for this person, your life's not going to get easier. The kids are only going to get older.
Good point.
So maybe there's going to be different points in their life where they think it might be easier kid wise, but like you're investing in your future, you're investing in your kids' future. If I think it's worth it. I think
so too.
Taking the leap.
And everybody that I know that has done this, even like with kids too, I feel like it's always been a positive change.
Yeah.
An improvement and just excelling.
Doing maybe an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, even if you just dedicated 1 to 2 hours every single day, and it was maybe at the start of the day early before kids are up or before your day starts, and then in the evening after, before you're just so tired, because you want to get sleep, you need to keep a routine of some sort. But if you were consistent about that every day, 7 days a week, and you just put in a couple hours every single day, I feel like that's a great way to make it not seem so overwhelming, but you're chipping away and getting everything done, whatever's due that week. I think it's amazing. Yeah. I'm so excited to hear. I always wanted people to write back in or let us know. It's all anonymous, but let us know if this advice helped and how everything worked out. Yeah. That was great advice, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Glad I could help.
Bye.